Hello, family. Hi, I am here to talk about the latest student loan forgiveness program. This is breaking news out of the Biden administration and the Department of Education. So, this video is for anyone that still has their student loans, okay, and are interested in getting their student loans forgiven or canceled, okay. So many millions of borrowers have already having student loans forgiven. There are many programs that are in the works or in process rolling out to help students or student loan borrowers get forgiveness of their student loans. And so these are the videos to keep you up to date so that you can take the appropriate actions to get your student loan forgiven. Okay. So as you many of us know, there was the one big student loan cancellation program that we were looking forward to, that the Biden administration had put forth, that went to the Supreme Court to allow student loan borrowers to get up to $20,000 in student loan forgiveness. Was shut down by the Supreme Court, but that did not end it. That was one program, okay? And so the Biden administration and Department of Education had already anticipated what they would be doing, or the next step plan of action, if the Supreme Court shut down that cancellation program. So that program would have forgiven loans of up to 43 million borrowers, but they did not end there. So there's been processes in the works that I've been sharing with you since way back in 2022 all the way through now. So I'm bringing you up to speed. So last week I provided another video to talk about more forgiveness programs. So if you missed that video, please go watch it, because every time I announce that more student loan borrowers that I personally know that I've helped get their loans got it canceled, next thing you know, people are like, okay, when did that happen? Or how can you help me get mine canceled or forgiven? So it's so important that you stay plugged in to the information that we share. And if you ever miss a video, you can go to our YouTube page or Facebook page and just click on our videos, and you can see all of our latest videos there, so that you do not miss anything that is important to you to take action on. So I see you all joining. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to all of our new followers. I just ask you to share out this broadcast to other student loan borrowers that you know that may need this information, and give this a like, give this a thumbs up, so more people are able to see this video. So I just mentioned about the student loan cancellation, that one-time cancellation that was shut down by the Supreme Court. So let's rewind back to 2022, when the Biden administration announced all of the changes that they were making to the student loan programs across the board. So this is a way that they have been able to be able to cancel over 2.2 million loans already, worth $66 billion across multiple programs that were neglected. Where they were not properly administering the programs, not canceling student loan debt that it should have been canceled, that they were redirecting people to other programs instead of the right programs. So it's been a whole complete process to clean up a system that has been terrible for years. So don't think that the one that was shut down is it, because it's not, okay? And so many 2.2 million student loan borrowers have already had their loans canceled, meaning they don't have to pay another dime on their student loans ever again, okay? So the 66 billion that has already gone to cancel student loan debt is made up of is part of the cleanup that has been happening. Part of the first one was the cleanup that happened for disabled student loan borrowers. So there was already programs in place to forgive your loans where they were not forgiving them. So you should have been had your student loans canceled, but they were not tracking time properly. They weren't tracking your applications. They were just putting them in their desk or tossing them away or not looking at them or redirecting you to irrelevant programs that kept you further from away from being able to get your student loans canceled when they should have already been canceled. One of those programs was the disabilities program. So imagine you're a student loan borrower, you become permanently disabled, and you cannot pay your student loans, and they should have been forgiven because that's what you're able to do. That is a program, right? And now you're in default when you shouldn't be because the program is not working on your behalf. That is the cleanup that has happened. So millions of disabled borrowers had their student loans canceled. Okay. Then you have the group of student loan borrowers where they did not get I wouldn't say good education, meaning let's say they were frauded by the institution where they went to school. So they paid their money with the hopes that they were going to get an education, that they would get a good career after they graduated. And so there were many of these schools that people went to that they were frauded, or they were promised things that they didn't receive, or promised a career that they didn't get. So these things were happening. So there were, again, applicants in the pipeline who were denied, or who were just left in pending status, or who were just not looked at all. So they had to go back and relook at all of these programs, all the applications that were in the pipeline, and they did a sweeping cancellation of the debt. And then they had a program in place that would help you to expedite your process if you were in the queue. Okay. So millions were forgiven through the defense claim. And that is still a program that exists. So all the cleanups of the automatic forgiveness for the disabled, they clean it up and still cleaning it up, meaning that in the upcoming days, weeks, months, if you become permanently disabled, you know someone who is, you can get your application and the process is going to go much smoother. Same with the defense claims. Then let's go to the public service workers. So the public service workers has been a program for many, many, many years. Okay, so meaning that if you have worked in public service for a government, for a nonprofit organization, and then you get credit towards being able to get your student loans forgiven after you have worked with an organization or organizations in that area for 10 years. So there were people, many student loan borrowers who had done that many years ago, and their student loans were never forgiven. So again, they struggling to pay student loans they shouldn't be paying, or in default for no reason because their applications just were just not processed properly. So they had to go clean up that program. So with that program, they gave a sweeping credits, waivers. So meaning if some of you all would have had maybe 10 years left, 5 years left to pay, yours was automatically forgiven. Or you only had that 10, 5-year window went down to 6 months or a year window. Meaning that there are still public service workers that are reaping the benefit of the changes to the public service workers program. So that was part of what I discussed in the previous video. So if you are a public service worker or ever have been, you should get credit towards that service, towards your student loans. So please make sure if you have ever worked in public service that you go to studentaid.gov and you talk to your servicer about how to get your loans forgiven. Okay. What does forgiveness mean? It means that your debt is going to be canceled wherever it is right now, whatever that they're either going to partially forgive it or fully forgive it. And whatever's forgiven is canceled, meaning you no longer have to pay. That's what that means. So these are all the programs, and this may be your first time hearing about this. Okay. So I'm going to talk about, so after the student loan forgiveness, the decision on the up to 20,000 was blocked, the Biden administration already started working on another program that is supposed to be announced this month. In the interim, they made another announcement. Okay, so they made an announcement, the Biden administration and the Department of Education, that they're going to provide 804,000 student loan borrowers with 39 billion in automatic student loan forgiveness as a result of the fixes to the income-driven repayment plans. Okay, so this is the fourth program that they have already started fixing in 2022. So in lieu of the fact of the blockage in the Supreme Court, they're still moving along, fixing these programs, making sweeping changes that is giving you closer to forgiveness. So what automatic means? Automatic. There's nothing you have to do. There's no action you have to take if you are in the number of the 804,000 student loan borrowers. You are going to get automatic forgiveness. That's exciting news. Okay, so this one is for those that are on the income-driven repayment plan. So someone asked me when I posted about this yesterday, what is the income-driven plan? It is a special program, okay, that has, I think, 4 or 5 different plans to help you lower your student loan payments. And when you're in this program, what the program is supposed to have done or is supposed to do is once you have paid as part of the program for 20 or 25 years, depending on which one you enrolled in, your loans, wherever they are at the 20-year mark and 25-year mark, are supposed to be canceled. But guess what? They were never canceled. So there's many of you out here, hence the 804 of you, and hopefully I'm in that number, that have paid into the system, into your student loans for 20 or 25 years that never got the student loan forgiven. Why? Because the system was broken. They weren't even tracking it properly. They didn't even know if you reached your 20 years or 25 years. Yet, they're steadily charging you, increasing the payment amounts, putting you in default when your student loan should have been forgiven. This is not the fault of the people, it's the fault of a broken system that they are working now to fix. And these are big fixes. Okay? So if you are not in an income-driven program, I would encourage you to get in an income-driven program. I already announced one of the other forgiveness programs that will require you to be in the income-driven program in order to take advantage of it. I also talked about the default borrowers that are automatically going to be taken out of default, who will also now be eligible to enroll in one of the income-driven programs. Okay, so let me break this down for the 804,000 borrowers that are going to get the $39 billion in relief. Okay, so it's saying at this point they have already approved 116.6 billion in student loan forgiveness for 3.4 million borrowers. That's a lot of borrowers. So the forthcoming discharges are a result of the fixes implemented by the Biden administration to ensure all borrowers have an accurate account of the number of monthly payments that qualify towards forgiveness under the income-driven or IDR plans. So these fixes are part of the department's commitment to address historical failures in the administration of the federal student loan program, in which qualifying payments made under the IDR plans that should have moved borrowers closer to forgiveness were not accounted for. So now borrowers are eligible for forgiveness if they have accumulated the equivalent of 20 or 25 years of qualifying months. Okay, so it says for far too long, borrowers fell through the cracks of a broken system that failed to keep accurate record of their progress towards forgiveness, said the U.S. Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona. And the Biden administration is making this historical step in order to fix the administrative failures. And they're reassuring everyone gets the forgiveness they deserve, just as we have done for the public servants, the students that were cheated out of their colleges, and the borrowers with permanent disabilities, including veterans. Okay? And they're saying that they will not stop fighting for to level the playing field for higher education. Okay, so the biggest thing about this particular program is the payment count adjustments. So this is huge. So what this basically means is those that are is not just those if it's for those that are on the income driven program, but they're going to give you so many credits that means that you're either included in this automatic number of the 804,000, or you will be in the number that's coming in the upcoming days, weeks, months, and over the next year, because of the changes that they have made to the system to accurately count and then to give you back credit for even when you were not on the income driven plan. That's what makes the difference. So if you've only been on the plan for 5 years, then you would not qualify. But like the public service, what they did with the public service workers, they're going to give you back credit. So I'm gonna break that down for you to explain who is eligible for this particular forgiveness program. So it says borrowers will start receiving notifications in the upcoming days. That's from this past Friday when they made announcement. So it's so important that you check your emails. They will come from the Department of Education. So I'll talk about scams later. But if you want to know if it's for real, it's coming from the Department of Education. It will always have .gov at the end of the email. So borrowers will receive these notifications. This is for direct loans or federal family education loans held by the Department of Education. This includes Parent Plus loans of either type who have reached the necessary forgiveness threshold as a result of receiving credit towards the IDR forgiveness or for any of the following periods. This is where the credits come into place. So any month in which a borrower was in repayment status, partial or late, the type of loan or the repayment plan. Okay? So any month, it's going to take into account any month in which the borrower was in repayment status, regardless of whether the payment was partial, it was late, the type of the loan, or the repayment plan. Next, any period in which the borrower spent 12 or more consecutive months in forbearance. Because one of the things that was happening with these servicers is instead of helping you get the income driven plan, they were sending you to long-term deferment and forbearance programs. So they're going to give you credit for even when you were in forbearance. And most of when you're in forbearance and deferment, you're not paying anything towards your student loan. But it's a program. So they're going any period in which a borrower spent 12 or more consecutive months in forbearance. Any month in forbearance for borrowers who spent 36 or more cumulative months in forbearance. Okay? So any month in forbearance for borrowers who spend 36 or more cumulative months in forbearance. Next, any month spent in deferment, except for in-school deferment prior to 2013, and any month in economic hardship or military deferments on or after January 13th of 2013. So that means that you will be credited for that. So even if you were not time that you spent that you were not even in the IDR program. So in addition, months described above that occurred prior to the loan consolidation will also be counted towards forgiveness. So loans before, so many of us, I'm one of them, have federal student loan debt, and which I consolidated my undergrad loan, consolidated the graduate loan. It's saying here they're going to even include the period of time prior to your loan consolidation. And the forgiveness counts. Okay, so you all should get very happy. And if you are not familiar with where you stand with regards to your student loan, if you have not checked your accounts lately, I would highly recommend that you do. You need to know, you need to be in communication with your student loan servicer. It's so important. It's so important to stay on top of them, so you make sure that you get the forgiveness that you deserve. So this is huge. That means in addition to the 804,000 that's about to get automatic forgiveness, just think about how many years you've been paying your student loans, or if you've been in any of these categories. So myself, if I'm looking at my undergraduate degree alone, I've been paying for 25 years. So I've been in some program because I've never been in default. I've never had a loan go into default ever. What does that mean? I was either paying it. I may have been paying it or paying interest only. It was either in deferment or forbearance or hardship, or right now it's in one of the income driven programs. What does that mean? I get credit for all of those years. I've never been in default. That's why for those of you that's coming out of default in the Fresh Start program, need to make sure you know you're out of default and get with the program, right? So now you can take advantage of the forgiveness programs where you could not before. Okay, so this is so huge. So I'm breaking this down, and I see your comments. I'll answer them in just a second. So let me know in the comments if you have a loan student loan that you've been paying towards, or you've been in forbearance or deferment or on an income driven plan for 20 or plus years. Can you put 20 in the comments? Put 20 or 25 years in the comments. If you have been longer than 20 years, put 20 in the comments. So that's many of us. I'm in my 40s. Okay. So I've been paying a long time. I've been in the system a long time. And to know that the time that I spent in any of these programs was not properly counted. So when I applied, and I didn't even know about the income driven program, it took me researching. So I'm very, resourceful that way. I do a lot of research, but my servicer didn't tell me like early on, way back when, that I could have been on the income driven plan when I said I needed help with my student loans, right? Because I never want to be in a position where I'm defaulting. I'm going to take initiative to, if I know that I have a hardship or I just can't afford the payment, I'm going to call and find out what programs are available. And back then, the only thing that they ever recommended was forbearance. So I'm like, okay, or interest only payments. So then I started making the interest only payments. Then I fell on hardship. Then I followed up with the hardship payments, right? So, and then I researched and found out about the income driven plan, right? But that was years later. Then they could have had already told me, Miss Roddy, instead of the forbearance plan, we have the income driven plans available. We have these. This is how they work. And we want to get you into these programs. They did not do that. That's across the board. They didn't do it. That's why they are giving us credit for all those times we were in the system of hardship or interest only, forbearance, deferment, any of those times over the 20 or 25 years where you should have already been forgiven and you were not. Okay, so I hope that is clear. So the department will continue to identify and notify borrowers who reach applicable forgiveness thresholds. The threshold is between 240 and 300 qualifying monthly payments, depending on your repayment plan. So you need to know your repayment plan. If you know your repayment plan, you know if it is the 20 or 25 years is the forgiveness mark. Okay, so they said that they will continue to identify and notify borrowers who have reached the applicable forgiveness thresholds every 2 months until next year, when all borrowers who are not eligible for forgiveness will have their payment counts updated. Okay. So they're taking into account when they expect to have all of the fixes in the place, the systems in place, so that all counts are updated and transparent. So then going forward, you will be able to count. You can go into your account and see, okay, well, I'm on the plan that says is 25 years. I'm at 23 and I have 2 years left. But if you're at 2 years or 3 years, most likely you're going to be bumped. So if you're not in the automatic number, you're going to be in the number in the next year. That's your loans are just going to be just going to be forgiven. Okay, but you need to track that. You need to track your dates. Okay, but they're going to have the counts in place by next year. So any month counted for this purpose can also be counted towards your public service forgiveness if the borrower documents qualifying employment for that same period. So it goes back to, if you had any public service or you're working in public service now, to make sure that you're documenting it, that you go to your employer, that you account for your qualifying times. You need to have that documentation anytime that you submit for forgiveness. So it says eligible borrowers will be informed by the department starting on this past Friday that you qualify forgiveness without any further action. So discharges will begin 30 days after the emails are sent. So if you get an email, please let me know. Send me an email at hello@shebosstalk.com with your picture and the cancellation notice. And I definitely want to share that with our community to let people. This is happening. It's been happening. It's been happening. It's going to continue to happen. And we want to celebrate with you, because this is going to open up a lot of doors. You will no longer be burdened by student loan debt that you should have been able to get from up under. So the discharges will begin 30 days after the emails are sent. Borrowers who wish to opt out. So this is for borrowers, any of you that decide that you want to opt out of this discharge, meaning that you do not want the Department of Education to forgive your student loan. Okay? If you want to opt out for any reason, you should contact your loan servicer during this period. So borrowers will be notified by the servicer after their debt is discharged. So you're going to get notification from the Department of Education. Then at least 30 days later, you're going to receive a notification from your student loan servicer that your student loan debt has been discharged. Please keep that for your ongoing records. Okay? Documented proof that you no longer owe on your student loans. Okay? So those receiving forgiveness will have repayment on their student loan pause until their discharge is processed, while those who opt out of discharge will return repayment once payment resumes. And so again, you just want to touch base with your servicer to make sure that everything is okay, that you're making your payments on time. I don't know who would opt out of a discharge, but there are some people that may decide to do that. But know that you need to then continue your payments, okay, on your student loan debt. So that's going to be important for you. But again, this is huge. That means regardless of any other program that's coming out, the sweeping changes across all of these programs means that it was not just one-time automatic for each of these four groups, but that the fixes, the changes that have been made, means that millions more will be getting student loan forgiveness, meaning your it's going to be wiped out. It's going to be canceled in the upcoming days, weeks, months, and over the next year and over the next year. So even if you're not in the number like today, your loan might be canceled next week, next month, next year, or the year after that. It's much closer than no one doing anything, and you having 10 more years that you have to, deal with student loans that you should be closer to your forgiveness. And many of you are going to see that it's going to be the time that shrinks for the time that you're going to get rid of the student loan debt is going to be huge. So for those of you in the comments, how much in student loan debt do you have that needs to be forgiven? Are you still waiting on? And if you are a student, let me know in the comments. If you have already received student loan forgiveness, if your student loans have been canceled under any program, let me know in the comments. Just put cancel. And then let me know which program you got canceled under. Okay. So this is a reminder. Let me just remind you, as of currently, 45 billion was canceled for 653,800 public servants through the improved PSLF program. 10.5 billion was forgiven for 409,000 borrowers who have a total or permanent disability, and 22 billion for nearly 1.3 million borrowers who were cheated by their schools, saw their schools close, or are covered by related court settlements that I talked about last year, that many of you all got your student loans canceled because of. And all of these programs are on the studentaid.gov website. They're all there. Now, let me just, please do your due diligence. That's why I tell you where to go. Please be aware that, like any other programs, there are scams out here. People telling you that they can, email them, text them, WhatsApp them, Telegram them, is whatever, that they're going to get rid of your student loan debt for you. If it's not one of these programs, it's a lie, it's a scam. Don't respond to them. Go directly through the Department of Education and talk to your service provider. There's nothing anyone can do outside of the programs that have already been put in place through the Department of Education, and the new ones that are rolling out that I give you updates on. But there's many people that will call you, text you, and telling you that they're going to help you get rid of your student loan debt, and that is just not true. So again, the public service worker forgiveness program, the income driven plan program, the defense claim program is in place. The total and permanent disabilities program is in place, is new and improved. So even those of you that are newer student loan borrowers, or maybe just became totally disabled or whatever, you just learning about this, again, go to the website studentaid.gov, learn more about these programs and see how you can get your student loans forgiven. There are even other programs as well that are on there, like if you're a police officer, fire person, teachers, certain teachers are eligible for this particular program. Also, I would tell you that there are many more employers now that are also, they're employers that actually help. So when you're thinking about getting an education and you need help, with a grant or scholarship money, there are many employers that will pay for your education. Oftentimes they do not broadcast it. You have to ask. I know at the last company I worked for 9 years ago, they were not advertising. I had to go to them. And so they had a program. So some may give you partial assistance and some may give you full assistance, meaning they may pay for your entire education or part of your education. Whatever they're going to pay, make sure that you get it, and make sure that you follow up, because even then, my employer was dropping the ball. So it's not just these agencies that are dropping the balls, it's also the employers. You have to stay on top of them to make sure that you get your credits. And you also get your documentation. That's what happened to me. And my employer dropped the ball. And if I hadn't followed up with them, I was so disappointed in them, because I could have had more money, but they dropped the ball. But I was able to get 2 semesters of my master's paid for. Also, more and more employers are getting in on the student loan forgiveness as part of the employee benefits. But if you don't ask, you may never know about the program. Don't wait for them to advertise it. I will go to your employer, And I would first go to your HR or your benefits person. They're usually the ones that know about any programs that are being implemented by your company, and go to them to find out what programs are available that you can take advantage of. And if they don't have it, inquire about them adding it. Depending on what company you work for, especially if you work for a larger company that has the benefits, they're competing for your gifts, for your qualifications. So this is something that you want, ask for it. But these are things that are out there that many times us as employees don't even know about, don't ask about. And it's just simply asking, and you might find out that they had a program already. Also, if you have children that are in school, like I have nieces and nephews, I would say don't wait till they get to their senior year to start looking for scholarships and grants. I'm telling you, there's billions and billions of dollars in scholarships and grants for students. There's even more of them today. What happens more times than not is that all the billions, they're reallocated because people simply don't apply to the programs. I mean, I know you see these people out here winning so many scholarships, and you're probably like, how are they doing that? They're doing it because you have to put in the work. You have to do your research. That's what I did when I was younger. The library is a great resource. Don't overlook the library. They are a great resource. If you want to research scholarships and grants, go to your library. Get a free library card and get to work helping, and talk to your student counselor. I had a really good student counselor that I was really close with, that every scholarship application came across her desk, she gave it to me. She called me personally. That's the type of relationship you want to have with the leaders of your school. So when they come across, and you're at your job, so when these programs come available, you're the first one on their list to reach out to. And then I actually have peers that their business is helping students access scholarships and grants. So you have less burden when you graduate. You can get an education and not come out with a whole lot of debt. And I'm happy to share the resource. I shared it with some of my friends who have young people that have graduating and have graduated. And then the other thing that I would say is, their COVID relief went to colleges and universities. So again, if you are a student, if you have children that are students, there was COVID relief that went directly to colleges to give to students. So hopefully you took advantage of those. I don't know if they're still available, but I do know that every college and university has scholarships and grants available. And that's after you come in your freshman year, that oftentimes some don't become available to your sophomore, but you have to inquire. I remember when I was in undergrad, because I inquired. Had I not inquired, I would have never found out that they had $1,000 grant that I could get every year, either every year or every semester, because my father graduated from General Motors. So, they have all types of programs. A lot of times alumni, they have foundations, or they will set up a special grant for that university, or a company will partner with the college or the university to have a special grant. So another one I got is, they had implemented an honors program when I was there. So I was one of the first to go into the program, where I received $5,000 every year. That's on top of the scholarships that I already came into the school with. That really helped, lower my student loan debt. Now, it didn't pay for all my tuition because I have student loan debt, but imagine had I not had the scholarships, my debt would be much higher. It would probably be around 50 or 60,000. And that was back in 1998 that I graduated. Imagine the student debt has risen since then, or the cost of student education has risen since then. So we see a lot of people, man, a lot of you all have student loans for a lot of years. Yeah, you're at the mark. You're 15, 17 years, 20 years, 30 years. Hopefully you're in that number. I can't speak to the private student loans. That's not my area of expertise on the private student loans. But when they are eligible in any of these programs, I mention them, right? But again, you would want to research these programs to see if your loan is eligible, right? I'm not sure if it matters, like if you are under the particular categories, but you have to check. And do that research. So do that research on your own. But I hope this has been helpful for you. I don't know about you, but I'm very excited. So if a founder for a nonprofit as well, I'm not clear on that answer. Your best bet would be to go to the website and look at more of the information on the public service worker, because you is for employees, but you're the founder. And most founders, I don't even know if you pay yourself as the founder. Maybe if you're an employee of your nonprofit. So I don't know if you put yourself on payroll. That's tricky. That's a good question, but I don't have a definitive answer. Did the private ones get canceled too? Not to my knowledge. So this program for the 39 billion, it does not include private loans. That is for federal student loans only. What if your servicer changed? I was on IDR with Great Lakes. So was I. So if your servicer changed, that does not change anything. The only thing that happened was your servicer changed. But I would just check in with your servicer. So the same thing happened. I'm with what are they? Telnet. It's another company, but they removed me without notification. So that's one thing that she mentioned. So many of you all may not know is that at any point in time, your loan servicer may sell your loan. They may sell your loan to someone else, another servicer, or the government may drop a servicer and bring in new servicers to take over to handle the loans. Because they've sued a lot of servicers because they're just doing a terrible job. They're not doing what the government intended them for or hold them accountable to do. But the government failed because they did not hold these servicers accountable to do what they're supposed to do. They pay these servicers. So, but you have to have some method of account. You have to have a way to track accountability to make sure that they're following the steps of the program, that they have the processes in place. And you're talking about all of these years. These servicers have been around, and the program has been around since before I graduated my undergraduate. And so 20, 30 years, and this is the first time that there's been sweeping change of the system, like a deep look into what is going wrong with the system. So I'm excited. I'm happy about that they're doing it. This is like an audit, a full-fledged audit of an entire system that has never been done before. And they're finding all of the failures and fixing these failures. That's where you're getting the benefit, because millions of you all that have been stressed out over your student loan debt, where everybody blaming you and why you shouldn't have signed up for student loans you can't afford. And it's not even your fault. It's the system. And I'll debate anybody all day. It's the system. These systems are not set up for what they were intended to do. And that's anything, in your business. If you're not following the process, if you don't set up processes, if you're not documenting, if you're not tracking, then everything is going to fall to the wayside. You're going to fail as a business. Same with these systems. If they don't keep track, if they don't monitor, if they don't document, if they don't assign people to make sure that they're following protocols, if there's not check and balance systems, it's going to fail. But when it fails, it's going to hurt student loan borrowers. And that's what it's been doing. That's the problem. It's not that student loan borrowers are lazy and they took out debt that they shouldn't have taken out. The student loan borrowers that took out the debt were young people, they're kids. A lot of us are first in our families to pursue education. And the only way to get an education and to get out of the circumstances to lift the families up is to get an education and to get a loan to do it. Okay? And so they took advantage of young people. Young people at 17 and 18 signing up for student loan debt because they have no other choice to get a loan. And then you have all of these fine prints or unsaid things. And then you take out loans and then what they say is going to happen doesn't even happen. And so now you're stuck. You don't even know what to do. You're stuck with the debt and you're 90. You can't even be peaceful in your 90s because you're stressed out about student loan debt that you've been paying for 90 years. Tell me how that makes sense, because it don't. So can you dispute loans through your servicer because you never signed a contract? Not that I'm aware of. I don't know about suing. You can maybe pursue or look into pursuit of a class action lawsuit, but you need to do your research, right? On does it make sense to be able to do it? People do it all the time. But I don't have an answer for you on that. I don't think so. They switch servicers all the time, but I do think there should be rules around the switching of servicers. For sure, we should be notified. Like, why are they switching servicers? Like, don't we have a say, like, in the servicers that are servicing and they're not even properly serviced. Their servicers not properly servicing our loans. So, that we would need to look further into. Are there scholarships for private loans? I'm not sure. There may be, but you would have to do your research. I just don't know that answer. All my loans were federal, and I did that purposely. I mean, not that I knew everything when I was going to college, because I didn't, but I knew I didn't want to take out a private loan. I'm thankful for that, because I just heard so many horror stories with the private loans. Yeah, some of us have like a near or at 6-figure student loan debt. And that's not even what it was when we got it. It's all the compounding interest. So I talked about that in the last video, the changes with the interest, the compounding of the interest. That's going to stop. That's going to be helpful for you to get unstuck from and being able to get closer to that forgiveness, that you can actually pay off your student loan debt. So Latoya says she received a letter that it could be discharged by 2025. And we're in 2023. So if I had 160,000 that could be discharged by 2025, 2023 is almost over. These years are flying by. It'll be here in no time. So I would be excited, and I'll be counting down the months to that happen, and I would be monitoring for that to happen. But continue to monitor all of these changes, because it may get you even closer. I've been approved for borrower defense. What does that mean? That means that it means that your student loan debt, whatever it is, should be canceled. So you should monitor for email correspondences. That another thing is that's what the department says as well. If you're not monitoring your emails, that's to your disadvantage. So check your inboxes, check your spam. All the emails that come from the Department of Education, they hit my inbox. But I do check my spam, because I'm not missing out on money. Like, people missed out on money, COVID money, because they simply didn't check their emails. That's not going to be me. So just check with them and check in with your servicer as well. And if you go to the studentaid.gov, you should be able to check your loans there or through your servicer and see where you're at. If it was approved, keep that documentation. Some of my employers are not verifying employment. They have to. So you got to go to you have to hold your employers, your schools accountable to do their part. This is what we have to do a lot of times. You have to follow up and follow up and follow up and follow up and follow up. Because people drop the ball. Don't count on people, not count on people to drop the ball. Just expect people will drop the ball, and it's your responsibility to stay on top of them. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I mean, the years I've been alive, it's happened so many times. Companies drop the balls all the time. So Joyce says she didn't know, right? I didn't know that about working with the nonprofit. Yeah, so there's a lot of people that don't even know. You've been working for nonprofits, they've been paying you, or you work let's say it's been 10 years. And you worked 5 years way back when, and for a nonprofit, and you didn't know that could count towards your student loan forgiveness. And it's not even, instead of 20 or 25 years, it's only 10 years. And I know when I used to work for the Metropolitan Housing Authority here, they had their own program. That's why I say you need to look into the programs in your cities, your counties, your schools, wherever it is that you're working at. So the county is government. Okay. So once you do your time, you work there, you're getting paid. It's not a nonprofit, right? You're working for a government entity. And so after 10 years, your student loan gets forgiven. You have to stay on top of these people. So now you know, go inform other people. Please go inform, share this out. Please share out this video. Tag people in it that you know that may not have known that they fall into one of these categories, or they can. That's what happened. That's why people have been able to get forgiveness that they didn't even know that they were entitled to. Now their loans are forgiven. They have no more student loan debt. It's exciting, and I'm excited for the day that I can tell you I got my letter. I'm just waiting. I've been waiting patiently. So while you all are up in arms talking about what people aren't doing, the administration not doing, no programs here, no programs there, but you're not up to date. So a lot of times people are misinformed because if you're not staying up to date, and things are changing daily, they're like really serious about doing it, because once the administration changes, it may not, it may look different, right? Because not everyone wants student loan debt. They don't want these sweeping changes. So we don't even know, under a different administration, none of these changes will probably have been made. So you have to take advantage of what's available when it's available. So I'm not going to wait till the change of another administration. I want to get as much as I can while we have the people that are fighting for us to get our just due, and to change a system that needs to be changed. If that's all they did, millions would get student loan forgiveness, and you will be closer to cancellation. But there's still people in leadership that don't even want that. They rather blame us, the student loan borrowers, when they bailed out the billion-dollar companies over and over again. They did it in the financial crisis of 2007 and 2008, and they did it again for COVID. They're always the first ones to get the help. But just let the little people ask for money, and they want to call us lazy. It makes no sense. My daughter, her servicer has been switched twice. That's why I've been reaching back to the university to help our people get mandatory credit education. Yeah. So, but no answer from Cornell. We got to share the information. We got to teach people. So once you learn it, go teach somebody else. I don't want to be the only one out here. Like, go share with someone else, because believe it, when they did the waiver for the public service workers, and I'm telling you, and the people didn't even see the video, or they didn't take action, they missed the waivers. So you can't count on them extending things. So they made a decision to extend, but what if they didn't? then you be out of luck. So you have to take advantage of it when the time is here. So again, I'm gonna close out with just saying, if you are in the number, and I hope you are, of the 804,000 student loan borrowers that's on the income, one of the income driven plans, you've been paying into the system, you've been in the system 20 or 25 years, and you get that email saying that your student loans are automatically forgiven and canceled, email me your picture and hold it. You could block out whatever you want in the letter if it's any personal information or whatever in the email, but hold up that email or do something so I can share it, and so that we can celebrate you. And best believe, if I'm in that number, I'll be back on here and I'll be sharing. And I'm gonna be doing a dance, do a TikTok video or Facebook or YouTube short, letting people know, so that way more and more people know what's coming, and that they will eventually be included in that number. So even if it's not you today, look out in the next weeks, next days, weeks, and month, and over the next year, millions more will get forgiveness, whether or not they come out with a bigger program. So look for it, stay focused, monitor for that to happen, and then come back and report it to us. As always, continue to be the boss with amplified impact. Have a great day.